Welcome to This Is Whole Life, a podcast from the Whole Life Church in Orlando, Florida.
Join me, Ken Wetmore, lead pastor, and Melanie Bachman, our worship pastor, along with our communication team, Randy and Lucas. Take a look back, a look deeper, and a peek into the week ahead.
Here we explore meaningful conversations about spirituality, community, and living with purpose.
We don't have all the answers, but we are walking the journey together.
Wherever you're listening from, you're wanted here.
This is Whole Life.
Hey everyone, it's episode 523 of This Is Whole Life, and should we just say that this is the special VBS edition? Not that it necessarily matters to any of you all who are
It matters to us.
above the age of whatever, what's it, 11 in fourth grade, something like that.
Oh, VBS Pro goes a little.
Well, yeah, the
Or
VBS.
Plus, sorry.
I know.
Plus, Pro, whatever.
Yeah, VBS Pro is software, and
Yes.
VBS Plus
VBS Plus is for the middle schoolers.
That's for the middle schoolers, right. So here at Whole Life, we believe in inclusion, and that means the older kids who felt really left out got a VBS Plus.
Yep.
Kind of like, I guess it's kind of like an A+. It's just VBS instead.
Yeah, just different letters.
We'll have to ask Carla about that because I'm not really sure all the things that are happening there. Lucas came back this morning with a huge smile on his face after he was over there with the camera. And he's like, it is a bit of, how did you say it?
It's the age where they're all shy. So like, it was funny and interesting to see them all bonding.
I am so grateful for the work that Carla's done with that program, though. It is such a neat thing. Like, I am so impressed with the different activities that she has for the kids. And she said we're going to have a conversation about next year, but I'm thinking, man, we need to expand this, Carla. We need to,
All those activities sounded so cool. I wanted to register myself.
I know, right?
Yeah, so Carla, if telling Ken you had to talk about it for next year meant you were hoping to scale back or eliminate.
Think again.
Oh, man, that's funny. All right. Well, this week, as always, you know what the messages here always need is your input, your opinion, your maybe that's the way I heard it, kind of spin on things, because this week was really a dig deeper kind of message where we didn't have a lot of questions. No email, no Slack, no text, no voicemail. Although, if you were someone from the 407 area code who thought you left a message, I do enjoy that you enjoy listening to 80s music on the car, on the ride. So I'm assuming it was a Hinder dial and not an actual voicemail, but it was 3 minutes long, and I did listen to the whole thing, but there was nothing of any use other than some 80s music.
Yeah, I think Carolina Dave had an audio thing for us.
You sent that to me,
I sent that to you, right? I think I sent it to you. Do you want me to see if I can pull it up?
I think I know right where it is now that you mentioned it. I knew I was looking for something because I'm like, wait a minute. But I have been sick, and sick brain doesn't always work like regular brain. Oh, here we go. Look at that. First thing on the list. Okay, so I take that back. We do have a voicemail. And also, Carolina Dave, among other people, he sent me a nice email after last week when I was missing. And as you can hear, I'm on the mend. I'm mainly better. But a lot of people, oh man, even at VBS, it's like, oh man, you're going to be back this week. Great. So, I mean, not bad for you guys, but just like,
No, it is bad for us, so it's okay. It's all right, Randy. We accept.
It's fine. It's fine.
We accept your judgment.
We have no
accept
pride.
their judgment. We were just trying to get it done so you didn't miss an episode, Randy. That's all.
Melinda was just like, oh, well, it's always good when you're when you're there.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, well, thank you.
We hear you, Melinda.
Yeah, we hear you. It's good.
We understand.
Okay, so
we agree.
All right, so I might, let's see, we'll play this clip from Carolina Dave, and then I might have to take the audio and replace it later in post, depending how good this sounds. So we're going to just go ahead and put it into the microphone old school style. So here we go.
Hey, Whole Life Podcast crew. This is Carolina Dave. I just wanted to make a comment on this last week's worship service. First of all, the praise choir. Every service, praise team is just awesome. But this last Sabbath was it was extra special for me. That choir just makes me come alive. And, I wish one of these days, if I ever get a chance to move to Florida, I'm going to sign up for singing lessons, and maybe I can hold a tune and read some music. And that's my goal for the long term, singing the choir, because I think it's just wonderful how they praise God. Wycliffe has just done an excellent job, and I hope he gets more choir members. But in regards to the message, that was an awesome message. Ken Bradley's verse, his favorite verse, I love that, and, as of the two Kens, I'll refer to Ken Bradley as Ken Bradley, and our other Ken, he's not just Ken, I'm just going to call him K-Pop. But K-Pop's message for last week really spoke to me. The whole idea of overcoming evil with good is, I'll admit, that's a hard thing for me to do. It's hard for me to really grasp onto the fact God's capable of anything, and he's capable of using good to overcome evil in our lives. And, we just have to sit back and relax and let him take care of business. I got to learn that. And I just wanted to say that whole service and Ken's message was for me, it was absolutely beautiful, and I really appreciate it. Anyway, hope you folks are doing well. I'm praying for you all and the rest of the Whole Life family. And once again, awesome message.
Right. Thanks, Dave. Now you see why I wanted to make sure that you didn't forget to play that.
Yeah, no. Well, sometimes it takes more than one person.
And by the way, Carolina, Dave, I'm going to go ahead and put your name on the list for Whole Life School of Music.
Yeah.
So that you can sign up for voice lessons with Albert. I'll let Wycliffe know you're coming for choir. So all you have to do now is just move down here. Everything else is taken care of.
And if that doesn't work out, we'll see about bringing you in on the podcast occasionally. And, your voice sounds pretty good for the podcast. And
there we go.
Because otherwise you would be joining me on the people who flunked out of singing whatever. I guess I didn't go to school, but we were supposed to do singing at, grade school. And it was always like, who is purposely being off key? It's like, shut up.
Maybe we can have him in a duet. C-pop and K-pop.
Oh.
C-pop and K-pop.
Nice.
Do we dare dream?
There better be dance moves is all I can say.
Oh, wow.
I was just saying,
for a lot.
We may have to revamp somehow. I'm just Ken into a K-pop, C-pop special that would just really lay it down for the ages.
Yeah. Huh. Let's pass on that. Let's let's leave things where they are and
let's just move on.
Yeah. Well, that one left Randy. Wow.
Yep, we lost him.
No, this is wow. Is it warm in here? Is it just me? That's
yeah.
Man. Lots of good visuals and just some ideas percolating. Give me a call, Carolina, Dave. Let's talk.
I don't know how I feel about that.
There's got to be somewhere to go with this. All right. First off, everyone, if you're listening right now, I want you to close your eyes unless you're driving. And think back to, however many decades ago it was. What was the name of your first grade teacher? And did you like them? Him or her? Lucas. Do you remember?
Trying. I think her name was Maria.
Yeah.
Portuguese.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Down in Brazil, you guys go on first name basis with your first grade teachers, huh?
Impressive.
Yeah.
Really?
Wow. Yeah. We don't call it like Mrs.
No.
This is the first name.
Wow.
That was like a punishment by death.
I know. Right? If you said first name.
I'm to this day, I'm not 100% sure what the first name of most of my teachers were because it was, like I said, that was a punishment that.
And yours was, you named yours.
I did.
Yeah.
So Melanie.
Melanie?
Yeah, well, I was homeschooled till I was in the 5th grade. So my first grade teacher was my mom, and I wasn't allowed to call her by her first name either. So
she was Mrs.?
No, she was just Mom.
Mom. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Mine was Mrs. Margaret Darnell. Yeah.
Mine was Mrs. Well, no. I think then, I don't think she was married until later. But it was Prudy Hutchinson. Prudence, if you were, and if you're a Tammy Cinquemani fan, you know Prudence, don't you? Yeah. So, but not the same. Not the same. She was I just remember being in first grade, pretty close. If I wasn't, I was pretty close to being as tall as she was. She was a short little lady. I really liked her. And then it was Mrs. Vanden Heuvel for second grade, and Mrs. Ooh, I can see her, but I can't think of her name. Anyway, so yeah.
Yeah. First grade, Mrs. Darnell.
Fan.
Second grade, Mrs. Kerr.
Oh, Kerr. Okay.
Third grade, Mrs. Chabot.
Mm-hmm. Chabot. Ooh.
Yeah.
A little Francais, maybe?
I don't know. She was very nice, though. I liked her.
Yeah.
My third grade teacher. Yeah, for sure.
I remember
Like my second grade teacher. I actually liked them all. Although I will say the first grade teacher, Mrs. Darnell, you've heard of the fear of the Lord. I mean, deep reverence and, respect, because that's how I felt about Mrs. Darnell. Just deep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was the kid that always wanted to do the right thing. Like, I did not want to be in trouble. I was very upset if I got in trouble. I know this is a foreign concept to you, Randy. That was who I was.
What happened to you?
Kenny was...
I'm sure there are many people who've asked that question over the years.
So, Kenny, little Ken...
Yeah.
He was like
I was shy. I cried about just about everything. Yeah, that was me.
And now he only cries when I'm around.
I cry very often. You all make me cry on a frequent basis. I just have a closet that I walk into and
stay hidden. I get it. No, there's sometimes, that's, man, third grade teacher, it's really bugging me, and I shouldn't. But Kelly was her daughter, and Carrie was her son. I can't remember what her name was. But anyway, either way. All right. So first grade teacher. Well, I hope your first grade teacher was cool, because I really liked mine. And that was, I don't know, school was fun for a year. And that was it.
That was it?
And she made bad about me all the time. She was always every report card.
I've got to tell you,
for talking too much and not being in his seat when he's supposed to, going to the bathroom too often. Yeah. Like, hey, when you got to go, you got to go. What do you...
One of my favorite memories is second grade, because our second grade teacher had this big old-fashioned clawfoot tub that was the reading tub. Yes. And so she put pillows in there, and if you were really good, you could you would get time to read books from the little library in the reading tub. And when you're, I don't know, 8, 9 years old, whatever it was, that's very cool. You get, awesome. And I like to read. I love to read.
Wait, don't you still have a reading tub?
So that's where I was actually going with this.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Melanie knows things.
It's actually the same tub.
Is it really?
What? Yes.
What?
So for those of you who've been over to my house, on our back porch, we have this clawfoot tub with pillows in it. Not the same pillows, but that tub, when I was out in Washington State pastoring, Mrs. Kerr and her husband lived nearby, and she and her husband reached out and said, I'm not teaching anymore. Rochelle's a teacher. Would you have any interest in having the tub?
The reading tub.
The reading tub. I was like,
Come
are
on.
you kidding me?
That is so cool.
Yes. I am all in.
Man, I didn't know the backstory.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
I have seen it. I just never.
Now you know.
Now I know. The
Now
reading
you know.
tub.
Now you know why that was like, why is that?
Well, now I'm just going to be like, when I need to relax and catch a good book, I'm going to be like, hey, Ken, is the back door open?
Over.
Can I jump in the reading tub?
Yeah.
I'm glad it was without water, because my first thing was like, man, if you drop the book.
Well, we grew up in the backwoods of North Carolina, so you had to put some water in that tub every once in a while just to clean us all up.
I was going to say, get that the tub ring off.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, there you go. Cool. Well, now there you go, folks. That's what we call an Easter egg. You just pop
true.
That
was
in there.
One.
And that was one of the things I enjoyed about the message was when you said, I don't think I've ever, or I don't know if I think you said you hadn't preached on it before, but you'd probably obviously read it before.
Yeah, I'm sure I've used it not as the main verse of a sermon, but I'm sure I've used it in several different sermons. It's a hard one to miss around Easter or, some of those different, when you talk about Christ's crucifixion. But never have actually preached a sermon about that verse, and had not studied. I had no idea about the worm until Cecilia told me about it, and I just thought that was so cool. I love we have the smartest people at our church.
Yeah.
The smartest people.
Well, and the thing is, if you look it up, just a very simple search. I think I went at it from 3 different directions, and each time there are pages and pages of information on this, where maybe you're not. If you're one of those people like Ken mentioned, just like I want to know the mystery, I want to know that, I want to find the nugget, I want to find the treasure. It's at least really interesting to think about how other people have approached it, researched it, come to conclusions that you may or may not agree with. But like, some of the stuff was out there, and some of it was just like, oh, well, this makes perfect sense because it's just A, Y, B, A, B, C, and D. And I'm like, oh, okay. But then it's just, and what I thought about that was, you mentioned hermeneutics, the way to study the Bible.
Hermeneutics, yeah.
Neutics,
Mm-hmm.
is it that?
Yep.
Okay, neutics. You said there were four ways, and how do?
No. That's one. There are many hermeneutics out there, and they'll often be very tailored to a particular theological school of thought, and particularly different Christian denominations have a different hermeneutics that they work with in interpreting Scripture. There's a lot of different ways of going about it. So this is a Jewish hermeneutic that was developed in the Middle Ages by Jewish scholars. And Melanie, I can't remember, the acronym is like
PARDES.
Yeah, and it actually has. What is it? We were talking about this. You told me a little bit more information about it, but it actually, when you do the acronym, it actually comes out, the Jewish scholars, like pearls or what was it? Oh,
it's that word pardes, however it is pronounced, it can mean garden, paradise, orchard, forest. Actually, Nehemiah used it for forest, so it kind of has that extra meaning to it.
So the scholars would use that as a way of maybe digging through the garden to find.
You never know what's going to
blossom out of that. Yeah.
Well, it was just neat that the 4 that you mentioned, plain or literal, hint, clue, or allusion. Another, inquire, seek, or examine, and secret or mystery.
Yeah.
And in some ways they all kind of go together, and in other ways, I just felt like, if you think of yourself as the little kid in the first grade classroom, like, those are all brilliant. Like, I want to do all of those things.
Yeah.
And the thing that made me think about this a little differently was, as I thought about those, and I kind of came to that realization, I'm like, how often though now, when I'm sitting down and like, okay, I'm up, I'm at 'em, I got to get going, and I've got like 30 minutes to, read some part of the Bible, whether it's a reading plan or just spending some time going, let's just flip pages and see where we come out, and, maybe by happenstance. But then I just sat and wondered, like, how long has it been since, I guess reading plans are some of it, but I think this is more of a mindset of what you're going into it with as well. I mean, it may be a set of things you can go, okay, I'm going to look for something like this. I'm going to choose this. I'm going to choose this. But it almost seems like it's maybe a simpler mindset where you just go, you know what? I'm just going to read this plain or literal. And then maybe I should go back and see if there's any hints or clues, and, should I examine this deeper? Or, man, I wonder if there's a mystery in here I just don't know. And to be that inquisitive, I just think that the older I get, the less inquisitive I get just on an average day, unless it's something that, the red worm, I don't know how, or the crimson worm, sorry. I don't know how that doesn't cause you to want to seek, like, crimson worm. This is weird.
Yeah.
Like, where does this come in? Did they squeeze them for wine? Did they, use them for, the dye? I thought that was pretty cool.
They crushed them for dye.
And like, who's that guy or that girl that was like, wonder what would happen if I just crush this thing. And then what can I, oh, look at that. That's cool. That's real dark, cool red. What can I do with this? And somehow someone figured it out.
Yeah.
That wasn't, but saying that, like all of the things that, and I love it that Cecilia did the deep dive. Like she went, where's that? Darash? Inquire, seek, examine, and sod mean the secret and the mystery. Like she was like, all right, we're choosing those two because I got to know what this crimson worm thing is about. And that was so much fun.
It really was.
But then it almost seemed like, because I think most of us can look at it and realize what David was trying to say in the verse and that he wasn't thinking of himself as an actual bug or something like that, even though some people might argue that for you. But all the different correlations, like when Ken was like, so if you went to Google.
Yeah.
And this
I
is
really
what you
didn't
might
want to
find.
do that. But the problem was that for me to preach that, I knew that if I didn't bring this up, that a lot of people are going to Google this Saturday afternoon and be like, well, why didn't Ken talk about it being this and this and this and this? Because all that information is very prevalent all over the internet. And so I wanted to kind of help explain what I've been able to verify versus what I have not been able to verify or that does not appear to be actually very factual.
Well, and it's kind of hard to do that when you're in the position of having to speak on it.
Yeah.
It's one thing when you're reading through it and go, oh, that doesn't sound right. Or I don't know about that. But you can't just say without saying, like, well, here's what I could verify.
I mean, you have a bigger responsibility if you're going to speak about it.
Yeah. And so, Melanie, I was just curious if you had read about this or if this was something in studies that you'd come up on before.
Nope, I did not know this. So, Cecilia, you brought us something cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, everybody, like, Cecilia, this is cool. And this next week, I have just, like, Ken's, I really enjoyed this. This is a really fun, for me, this is a really fun series. I'm really enjoying this one.
So is this going to become our next annual, Great Question series?
Probably not.
No?
Not, I mean, we'll probably I would say we'll bring it around once every 3 to 5 years, probably, but probably not every year. Yeah.
Keep it fresh.
We'll come up with other good ideas.
Well, no, for sure. But the whole thing where, and this was so prevalent in so many things, the comparing this to Jesus and the cross, but it was really
which, by
weird.
the way, I think is a very, very fair and good metaphor there.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the worm does attach itself to a tree and dies there. And then its body creates this protective shell over top of its I guess I don't know if the word's larvae, but over its babies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I think there's so much cool about it that is verifiable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if you have to weed out some of the other stuff, it's still a really cool
It's
metaphor.
just amazing. It's so cool. To me, it's just such a great example of how much is hiding underneath the surface of Scripture if you'll just take a little bit of time to just look a little bit.
But that would be a Christian hermeneutic. That would
It
be
would.
because you're reading Christology back into the Old Testament, which is something that Christians tend to do.
Yeah,
Say again?
We're very fond of it. We put Jesus into the Old Testament in a way that Jewish people are going to feel very uncomfortable with because they would not see Christ as being the fulfillment of Psalms 22. They would see Psalms 22 as being an expression of David about deep suffering that he's going through and his feelings of suffering. And an interesting thing, because we actually had a question, I don't know if we're going to get to that later, but it actually made me go back and actually look at it because I think it was Corbin that sent in a question that said, well, how would the Jewish people actually read this? How would they interpret this particular thing? And thank you, Corbin. Like I said, we have the smartest people at our church. And I hadn't really thought about that angle with the sermon, which I think would have been a fun angle to go at. It was like, now I'm like, oh, I wish I'd put that in there. If I ever preach it again, I will. Because one of the things that I discovered after Corbin prompted me to think about it was that some sects of Judaism actually think This psalm is dedicated. At the very beginning, it says dedicated to the dawn, to the doe of the dawn. So the female deer of the dawn. And there are Jewish rabbis and theologians who believe that the doe of the dawn is actually Queen Esther. And so they actually will teach that this Psalm 22 is actually Esther's prayer. It's actually something that Esther had said, which is an interesting thing because Esther comes much later than David. But the Psalm says this is a Psalm of David. But still, they will attribute some of it to Queen Esther, which makes it a very interesting. You want to talk about hearing a screeching needle across a record. Read it from the context of Esther and her experience, and it's a very interesting read that way. It's different than David. It's definitely different than what Melanie was talking about, the Christology that we read into that psalm as Christians. So as Christians, we see it as being prophetic. A Jewish person would not. They would say this is just a beautiful expression of suffering from a person going through deep suffering. And one of the things that they might say is that because the scarlet worm is a representation of how suffering can be precious, because that the dye from this crimson worm, when it's crushed, produces a very, very expensive dye. And so they might say, well, a person who's going through suffering, that there is something that's almost priceless that can come out of that when a person is crushed. And that's what the psalmist is trying to express by saying that they're a worm and not even a man.
So is there any, and this is something that I hear often, and where it's when we start maybe thinking we're going to inquire, we're going to seek, we're going to go a little deeper, and maybe it's just this idea that, well, I'm not Melanie, I'm not a pastor, I haven't gone through schooling and I haven't gone through X, Y, and Z. Should I be going this much deeper? Because I don't really know what I'm going deeper into in a way that might be meaningful enough to keep me on the tracks, as it were. Or is it healthy to just start to go, man, I'd like to learn more about this, and maybe I come to some conclusions. Maybe I go, I don't know if I figured anything out, but it was interesting. Is there harm in that? Or is it always good to just let's dig in and investigate?
So, dig in and investigate. Okay. I think I think that it's also helpful if you're going to dig in and investigate, kind of understand a little bit about anachronisms. When you're reading something into the text that's not actually there, it's called eisegesis. Reading something in there that's not actually there. I mean, there's some play in there that you can do for your own, kind of personal interest.
Okay.
I think when it becomes difficult is when you read something into it that's not there, and then you use that to impose a certain something on yourself or onto other people. I think listening to various voices with different perspectives, read a text. In fact, this is what I'm going to preach in a couple of weeks. And the whole process of preparation has been me listening to other people talk about their perspective of the text. I'll bring, my research to it too, but the whole point of it was to hear voices and different perspectives of people who are not necessarily theologically trained, because there can be some really deep and interesting insight. So...
I just always encourage people to dig in. I think that it's, I think that there's a lot of value to education. So understanding some of the history behind the writing of the Bible, gaining understanding about how interpreting the Bible works, exegesis, hermeneutics, that's very helpful. And I think there's a lot of opportunities out there to audit classes from really well-respected theologians where you can gain a lot of insight onto how these things are done. But even if you don't do that, I think there's a lot of value into reading the Bible for yourself, digging in, seeing what other people have to say. The caution that I think that I would just echo that I hear Melanie saying is just be humble. Be open to being wrong about something, and be careful about creating a theology of oppression out of what you're studying. Be careful that you're not harming others with the way that you interpret something. And I sometimes particularly worry about that with people who haven't put in the work to understand the nuances of the Bible. They'll come along and they'll be like, no, the Bible says it and that's the way it is. And the problem is, take Psalms 22 verse 6. The Bible says, I am a worm, not a man. Do you want to read that literally? Do you want to say that that's what David was saying, that
David was a worm.
that David was literally a worm, that God turned him into a worm for a period of time? Because that's what a literal interpretation of that text would require if you're going to. And most people are going to go, oh, come on, Ken, that's nonsense. That we all know that it's a metaphor that's going on there. That's fine. But the other part of that is if you say, well, David was saying that he was like an earthworm. Well, no, that's not what David was saying. You have to understand that what the original language is saying. He was saying he was a scarlet worm, which is a very specific kind of worm, not even the regular word for worm that's used in a lot of places, or the more common word for worm that's used, which is more of a maggot. And so the point that I'm trying to make is, I think that you have to come humbly to the text and be careful, because there's a lot of background, a lot of information out there that is very helpful when it comes to understanding the Bible. And I think that no matter what education level you have, you can understand the Bible. You can read it, and it's helpful, and it makes your life better. And it is a good thing to continue to educate yourself and to grow and study. It's one of the reasons why, this is not necessarily, I've been studying the Bible for a while. I've taken classes. I read a ton. But it's also one of the reasons why when I have a question about things, I'll go to Melanie. This is her PhD stuff. And I'm like, hey, tell me a little bit, am I off base here? What, according to the things that you've studied in getting your doctorate, what do you see here? What am I missing? Am I missing things, or am I reading this correctly? What would a person who's has their PhD in this stuff, what would they be saying to me about this? I ask her those questions on a pretty frequent basis, and I also go and read up on as much as I can. So take some time to kind of educate yourself on different parts of how the Bible can be interpreted, and why this may be literal, but that might not be as literal as you think it is.
So let me give you an example of something that I've run into a lot, especially in my history as a worship pastor and worship leader. I've had people read the text in Ezekiel talking about Lucifer. It describes Lucifer, what he looked like, and how he was adorned, and all these things. And there's a word that describes something that he was given, and the word relates to a percussive instrument. So I have people sometimes say, "Oh, that means anything that's syncopated is from the devil." And so then they take that and they go on some kind of a massive circuit tour, scaring people to death that anything with syncopation is of Satan. And that's an example to me of how being not understanding, how that process of exegesis works can actually be damaging, because and I don't know what it is. The people who are most certain about everything are usually the people who know the least about something. I think that tends to happen. I think there's actually a term for that. But so I think, and also there can be multiple different ways to read things. There can be multiple different ways to interpret things. So anybody that comes along and says this thing is this, and therefore you need to do that, I think I would ask some more questions.
Yeah, and do your research. On this one, I started looking into it, and it's not as hard as you think to double check on things. It really isn't. To Melanie's point, there was I would say a semi well-known person within our denomination who put out a massive series of videos and talks talking about basically how any music that has drums or syncopation is evil, and he put out all this research on why. And one of the in the first video, he talks about how a scientist had played heavy metal music and then flash froze water. And when they flash froze that water, the geometric patterns in the flash freezing when you cut it were very what's the right word? They're disorganized. They were chaotic. They were chaotic. And then he said that the scientist then played classical music.
I was going to say it's got to be Beethoven or somebody coming next.
Classical music, and when they flash froze that water and cut it open, they saw that all the shapes were geometric and beautiful, and there was order to it and beauty, whereas the rock and roll music was chaotic. And and I think, I don't want to misquote, but I think I'm pretty close to correct that he basically then says, so imagine your body is mostly water, so imagine what this stuff is doing to your body then. And when you hear that, you think, oh, science, oh, wow, that's interesting. That's like, and so I paused the video and I opened up my phone and I Googled the name of the scientist right there on the spot. What's the name of the scientist? And because it's interesting. I mean, if that's the truth, that's very fascinating. Well, the rest of the story is that this scientist, and I put scientist in quotes, also believes that if you speak to water that is polluted or if you speak to water in Japan, you can unpollute water in Los Angeles by just saying nice things to it. So that's another part of his research.
I mean, that sounds legit.
Yeah, probably. Why not? And then,
I would like to think that is true.
And on top of that, he's been offered $1 million to replicate his findings in a neutral laboratory with people observing.
Yeah.
He's never done it. He's never been willing to take it up, and nobody has been able to actually replicate that particular finding. So am I saying that this guy that's making these claims about music within my denomination, am I saying that he's trying to be misleading? I don't know him, so I don't know. Maybe he's not. I don't know. Am I saying that a little bit of research will tell you a lot of information about a person and I think that sometimes we try to make points where there aren't points to be made.
Yeah.
And like, okay, I think that you can say that you don't like a certain kind of music and you don't find it uplifting without pulling in research that really isn't very research. And that was the thing, is as you go through, one of my other pet peeves is when you see pastors just throw in proof text after proof text, and then you go read what's all around it, and it's not actually proving what they're saying it's proving. This verse and this verse and this verse. Well, you go read the verse that comes before it. You read the verse that comes after it, and it's not even talking about the subject that they've got something on. And so that's where I just always encourage. It's one of the reasons I say to our church members, please fact check me. It's totally okay with me. I will be wrong. I want to be right. I want to be 100% accurate. But that's not generally the way human beings work. And so go double check it. Just a simple Google search. Just open up your Bible and read the verses in front of a verse and after the verse. Is that really what it's saying? Is that really where that author is trying to go with this particular verse? And by the way, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, and what you were saying about people who maybe have a particular genre of music that they like or don't like. Sometimes that's what you go to the text with, and you're looking for things to support. The funny thing is, here in Ezekiel, where it talks about this percussive instrument, it also talks about windpipes. But I have never once in all of my years of leading music had someone come to me and say, I really have a problem with the flute.
Yeah.
Nobody.
That panpipes CD that you used to play before, because we've all been to a church or been on the team when it's like, hey, where's that panpipe CD? I burned it. I mean, it's here somewhere.
It's not on CD. It's on a tape.
Yeah,
maybe a record.
It could be on the old vinyl. I think the thing, and going back to, we're going to get to questions here with Lucas in a second, but going back to grade school one more time. My 4th through 6th grade teacher was one person, is Roland Bruntz. Very, very smart man. And he always said, if you're going to pick a verse and you want to make a point with it, whether you're you're preaching a sermon or you're just talking after church with someone or it's in conversation, he's like, just go to your Bible. And he's like, first I would just read the chapter. But he's like, many times he's like, the Bible has the little, and I don't remember the little call outs,
the little headings,
the little headings in there. And he's like, usually if you read from heading to heading, you probably have a pretty good idea. You might want to do the whole chapter. And if you really want to go ahead, go a chapter before, chapter after. Yeah. And he said, and then if you want to go a little bit, go to the first page. I don't know if you Bible still have these, but in the Bible that I have, it's old.
Study Bible.
Mm-hmm. And it has the little kind of a paraphrase of, hey, in this chapter, you're going to read about from this time to this time, and scholars believe this, this, and this, and this. And he's like, if you really want to do that, because then that gives you like a setting for what you're reading. And more often than not, a lot of the things that you, like Ken said, you hear someone use this as a call out. We're like, yeah, we're gonna support. And you're like, man, that's not. Like you're going in a totally different direction, and it doesn't take that long to figure out that without doing a ton of research, that you might be headed in the wrong direction.
And definitely, please do that before you take it on tour.
Yeah, do that. But I will say though that there is a hermeneutic that does that takes verses and says, this verse isn't talking about this, but I want to use it to make the point that I want. Paul actually does this a fair amount in his writings. He will take a verse from the Old Testament that really isn't having a conversation about what Paul's having a conversation with, and he will apply it in there. And so there is a hermeneutic that goes about doing that. And so,
well, if you'd like to learn more about that, you should stop by Melanie's Resource Depot.
Actually, I was going to say, if people are interested in kind of getting a crash course on exegesis, I have some great intro books that would be that are really simple.
I thought you were going to say you're going to start a
small community,
6 or 8 week small community.
I would totally do that if people were interested. I would love to do that.
All right, guys,
you heard it.
You heard it here.
Yep.
Email podcast at Whole-Life. Whoa, wait a minute.
Professor Bachman is in the house.
If Professor Bachman were to do this, we have heard from you guys on many occasions. Where is Melanie's podcast? There you go.
We're going to have a small community on podcast?
Well, a small community, and then you can grab the community's findings and you can share them with the rest.
Wow.
All right. Well, let's work on the small community first.
All right. One at a time. I got you. All right. Questions with Lucas. What do you got for us?
Yeah, we got a couple here. How might these hidden treasures help us to allow for the mystery of God?
Ooh.
Well, I think that one of the things I would say is it reminds us when you look at this that God isn't shallow.
Yeah.
That God has depth, and just like every person, there's more to that person than you realize. Just like today,
Yep.
I've been hanging out with you guys for the better part of 5 years now. Melanie, I think we've been hanging out for almost 10 years now. Yep. And Melanie didn't know that the
claw tub,
the claw tub on the back porch was from second grade.
That's it.
There's always stuff.
I feel like our friendship just deepened.
It did. It did. There we are. So, but that's my point, is that God, there's so much depth to who God is. And so, to me, this is just always a reminder that there's always more to know.
It made me laugh because I'm just like, God's going, you simpleton. You have lots to learn, Randy. And duly noted, sir.
Yeah, no, yeah. I think that could probably be said of every single person who's ever lived. So.
But I'm totally freely willing to admit it and start from that place, knowing that I probably don't know very much. All right, let's keep going.
All right. Do you think the original writers of Scripture intended readers to dig into their writings?
That's a great question. I don't know. I tend to think so, but
I think that we often, especially because we're reading in English, we miss some of the rhetorical devices and some of the intentionalities that exist in the text that authors actually did on purpose. I think we look especially at the Gospels and they're like, all right, somebody just kind of scratched this down on a napkin, but that's really not the case. And so there are all kinds of there's literary criticism that you can look through and note how the sentences are structured and what the different words mean and why the author used this device versus that device. So I think to some degree, sure, why not? Why otherwise? Why would they have put that much work into it?
I remember in high school reading The Old Man and the Sea and having these long debates about what Hemingway was trying to really get at with the fish and with the old man, and were there Christian allusions in there, were there not, and a lot of times people who make movies, who write books, very much have a hidden message in there that they want you to dig in, and they will never tell you what it is. I think about some of my favorite movies. You research it, like, what really does that mean at the end of the movie? And the person will be like, you have to figure it out. I know what I meant, but you have to decide. Yeah. And I think sometimes we don't give the Bible writers the same credit that we give some of the genius writers of our own time but the Bible is a brilliant piece of literature, just brilliant. The writers were very smart in the way that they went about doing things. The Psalms are a great example of just some incredible tactics that were used, and that's not my field. I'm not great at I didn't do well with the whole Old Man and the Sea thing, but what I do enjoy is the mystery. And there is a lot of really fun stuff in the Bible that when you dig in and start learning what's going on, you're like, oh, that's what they were saying, something kind of cool there.
But why wouldn't those writers have those same gifts? Like, take your favorite author now and someone that you've read extensively, and certain writers will take you to a place where you read all of their work from the same place. Like, you get in this mindset, they take you there, and then that's how you process. And if you've read their work, you're like, oh, and that's how they get away with the twists, because they know you've already been riding along for the whole experience, and then it's like, oh, I didn't see that coming. I knew it was coming, but that was the twist I didn't see. And they can do it through feelings and through manipulation, and just like they're doing it so purposefully. Why would we not assume that they could not do that with? Yeah.
Well, there's also, when I was in college, I took a fiction writing class, and a few of us did an exercise where we wrote a short work of fiction. Oh. And then the class read it and discussed it just like you would do to any other literary piece. But the key was you could not say anything. You could only just sit there and let them talk about it. And so listening to people talk about your work, and there were some things that they picked up on that I did on purpose. And there are other things like, how could you have missed this? I put this here. This was cool. But the funny thing was, they were coming up with things that I had never intended. And I was thinking, I didn't mean to do that, but that is a really interesting observation. So I wonder if some of these authors too, if John comes along and say, yeah, I know I was doing a lot of contrast with light and darkness and good and bad and, this heaven and hell and whatever, all these things, but I never thought of the way that Randy looked at that,
I like it.
I like it.
I like it. I like where you went with that.
Oh, that's cool. No, that's fun to think about.
And for some of us, we would read into that's the Holy Spirit's working too. That's the Holy Spirit who inspired these people to write these things. And maybe they didn't always understand the depth of what they were writing every time. But that inspiration that was in them did intend for that to go there.
I like to think of it that way. That's cool.
How might we miss the fullness of the Bible if we insist on reading Scripture only for its surface meaning? Why do some people fear digging deeper?
I think let me start at the end and work backwards. I think there's a fear sometimes that we'll get something wrong. It's the same fear that I think people have when they start driving a car. What if I'm in an accident? What if I do something that, what if I, and I think that sometimes people feel that way about the Bible. I'm not qualified. I haven't studied. I don't know. What if I interpret something wrong and it impacts my salvation or somebody else's salvation? What happens then? And I think that the same thing is true of, not learning to drive a car or ride a bike, is that you miss out on some beautiful things in life because you're not doing those things. You're not taking some risks. And is it possible for you to make some mistakes? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's been some horrific theology that has come out of the Bible that has done a lot of damage across history. I think about, the defense of slavery because of what's written in the Bible. I think about some of the genocide that's been perpetrated in the name of Christ. There have been some horrific things that came out of there. And my 2 cents on that is, if you read the Bible through the lens of love as it is described in 1 Corinthians 13, I think you'll be okay. But when you start veering away from that and start veering into things that cause harm to other human beings, that's when you're walking on some you're walking in dangerous places. It is absolutely fine for you to read into something and hear God speaking to you and saying, this is something that Ken needs to be doing, but be very cautious about how you force that upon other people and making them do what God's calling you to do. It's okay to share. It's okay to even be like, I feel pretty strongly about this, but it's a very different thing when you start imposing and forcing your interpretation of the scripture onto other people.
Yeah, I just had a conversation with someone this last week who was, asking about multiple interpretations of a particular text. And I was talking about, how that was possible. And the person was like, yes, but isn't that so subjective, And so we were talking about culture. And, I said, well, compare, this piece that we have determined is just cultural that we don't do anymore with this piece that we have decided is not cultural. Who made that decision? Isn't that subjective? So
Sure.
we always bring our own lens and our own subjectivities to the text. I think that and I think what Ken said about the fear often just keeps us trapped, keeps us bound from being able to explore some of the edges that are so fascinating and so interesting. And I think if we look at the Bible as a source of inspiration where we can just go and explore, and like Ken was talking about, it's a treasure hunt, looking for Easter eggs and digging around here and digging around there, here a little, there a little, I think is what Jesus said. There's, if you can recognize that this is a gift that we have, that we can explore, versus, okay, a very, very technical and frightening document that we must somehow, decipher in order to be saved. Like, those are two completely different approaches.
The idea that we have the ability to get everything that's in the Bible, when you dig a little deeper and you see all the interconnectivity that's there, and you think, come on. I mean, whose expectation is that? Is there anywhere where Jesus is like, look, if you guys could get this one through this one right and this one through this one right, and then I think, we'll start talking about, some divine intervention. We'll give you a little bit more that you can handle. And it's like, why not dig in and just trust that, the cross was enough for you. And the more you can learn, the more beautiful it is to be upon that journey.
Most of the rabbis of Jesus' day had memorized the entire Old Testament as we know it, like memorized it word for word, the entire Old Testament. And
That's
yet
crazy.
They were still always digging, debating, and discussing what that could mean and how that should apply. And that's people who have memorized the whole thing.
That's a good point, yeah.
And so I just think that the Bible is just this beautiful treasure hunt that just constantly keeps giving you more and more if you're willing to invest the time and the effort into it.
All right. That was great. Thank you, Cecilia. And our Ken number 1 or Ken number 2. I don't know which way we should put this.
Let's make him number 1.
Let's make him number 1. Yeah, that'd probably be the right whole life.
He was here
thing to
first.
do. Yes. That's the correct whole life thing to do. So who is our person this week? Do we know?
Erin Young. And I know you're listening, Erin.
Oh, she is. I know she's listening. So, sidebar, Erin, I will be reaching out to you shortly. I have a little favor to ask.
Sorry, Aaron. Our plan was foiled.
And so we will, we'll be in touch and we'll make that happen. So don't fret.
Chronicles, and I think it's 33. I think is the actual verse. And it's about the one of the most evil kings that Judah ever had, and his name was Manasseh.
Oh yeah,
and we're going to have some fun with this one.
Nice. Well, I mean, the first 2 weeks have been so much fun to begin with. This has really been great.
Also, you don't want to miss out on the Sabbath because you're going to get to a small slice of Vacation Bible School.
That's right. True. I mean, even if you're not like, whatever, VBS is what? Or you're like, oh yeah, VBS was a while ago. Come on, these kids. I'm in registration. That's my part. And to see the smiles, and then when they come in and Ken's like, all right, ready to go? Oh yeah. Then off they go for the day, and the smiles. And when their parents come to pick them up, did you have a good time? Oh yeah, they're a great time. So
and plus the decor is just so cool. So I don't care how stoic you are, the little kid in you is going to wake up when you walk through the door.
That's true.
That is true. The lobby looks amazing. Maybe the best VBS lobby we've had. I don't know. That's
I think the whole setup is pretty incredible.
Yep. All right. So before I let you go, Ken mentioned last week that, or maybe it was Melanie, that Randy would have said X, Y, and Z, and he would probably have some statistics to tell you.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
That was me.
That was Ken. So just so I don't disappoint y'all, I went and checked, and I was like, hey, it's been a while since I've checked our numbers. And what I found really, really surprised me. We have been now 6 months straight with over 1,000 downloads every month.
Wow.
Nice.
And 9 out of the last 12. So that's really awesome. 3 months we've been over 1,900, and 2 months we've been over 2,500.
Wow.
So we are now averaging. Now it takes us back. And so I went to ChatGPT and I said, here's our monthly, this is since the beginning. This is how many episodes we've done. And where does this put us in like a church of our size, like a podcast? And the results were, it's pretty good. And they're like the most unusual piece is that after that many episodes, you're still growing. And we have seen steady growth pretty much since we started as very, very small. And so we continue to grow. And that's just because you guys listen,
tell
and
your friends.
You share.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to do. And this month we are already, so we have 3 more episodes to drop. You'll hear this one, and then you'll have 2 more. We're already at 1,922 downloads this month.
What?
Wow.
And so over the last 6 months, you guys have just been absolutely crushing it. And I know there's every so often we see that, someone will share something and a group of people finds it. It has to be, because all of a sudden it's just like, hey, there's 1,000 downloads in 2 days. Like yesterday, 599 people downloaded episodes yesterday. Now, they're not all the same episodes, and that's the beauty of the podcast. You think about, this is what we're talking about. But as people, if they find the show and they like it, they have a lot to go back and listen to. I know I love to go back, and if I find a great podcast and be like, what have they talked about before? And they can go through
500 plus episodes.
Yeah. So there's a lot to listen to. So I just wanted to say thank you. And that sometimes someone asked me about 2 weeks ago, they're like, why do you do the podcast every week? And I'm like, because people that will never, ever step foot inside of a church, much less Whole Life Church, I find people that I don't know. I had 2 people recently who I had my Whole Life shirt on, and they're like, hey, you're Randy. And I was like, yeah.
Yes.
And your name is? Because that's your introduction to me. Who are you? Oh, I know so-and-so. They used to go to Whole Life Church, but you do the podcast every week. And I'm like, yeah, that's part of what I do there. Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I recognized your voice. I just heard you talking, and I recognized your voice. So that was a shocker to me. So never underestimate the power of what God does with all the ministries here at Whole Life Church. And then one thing I wanted to mention in that vein is that I don't think we mentioned it last week, and so it's probably been since the beginning of the month. We have a new giving platform here at Whole Life.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you're one of the people that have been giving recurring, sporadically, maybe you're even new to giving, wholelife.church/give. If you're one of those people that have given in the past and would like to continue to do so, you are going to have to switch platforms, and that's going to be until June 30th. Until the old platform, if you've logged in there before, you're going to need to do, and it's literally like, I think, Lucas, how long did it take you to to do the tutorial? He set up an account.
Say 5 minutes,
maybe.
max.
Yeah. So super quick, super easy. There's no questions that you don't know the answer to. And it's super easy. And there's even Lucas's walkthrough tutorial. It's a little PDF, and you can open it like I always tell people, open it on your phone and do it on your computer or whichever one you're most comfortable for. And you can just walk through those steps hand in hand. It goes pretty quickly, and then you'll be all set up. And of course, when you give to your offering and church budget, that fuels everything like the podcast here at Whole Life. So we would invite you to take a peek and make sure if you have, you don't go, hey, what happened? Because that's coming up soon. I don't know how we're halfway through June already. So anyway, so that's it. That's what's upcoming. Nothing. It's summertime. Gosh, is it summertime?
It is.
It was hot for a couple of weeks, but it wasn't like, it's Harley hot when it's summer.
It's Harley hot.
Oh, no. Ellie, the other day, she's like, man, she was complaining 2 weeks ago. She's like, man, it's hot. I'm like, summer's not here yet. She's like, no, it's hot. It was 92 today. We came here on Sunday to get ready for VBS. She came down to help me, and we're sitting at an intersection. It was one of those where I'm like, throttle or brake? Throttle or brake? Ah, shoot, we'll stop. And I should have throttled because it was a long, and you've got, 88 cubic inches of 500 degree heat, like wafting up right into your whole self in person. Inside of 25 seconds, she's like, there's sweat running down my back. She's like, summer's here, isn't it? And I'm like, yes, ma'am, it is here.
We'll have to talk offline sometime about what your thoughts are on the Harley versus Indian feud that's happening right now, but we can talk that some other time.
Yeah. Well, I'm all for feuds. I'm for feuds and I'm for competition. So
I feel like I know where Randy's going to fall on this, but you'll duke it out.
No, I love it.
I'm curious.
Bring it all in. Bring it all in.
If you want to know, you'll have to ask him yourself. We won't do it
That's
here.
it. So, all right, guys. Thank you again. Thank you. Keep sharing. Keep doing that. It really does make a huge difference. And so, and just continue to listen. We love it. Thanks for it. And we will see you all next week.
Thanks for listening to This is Whole Life. If today's conversation resonated with you, we invite you to subscribe, share, and leave a review on your favorite listening platform. To join the conversation, send a text or voicemail to 407-965-1607 or email podcast@wholelife.church. To learn more about Whole Life Church, worship with us online or in person, visit our website, wholelife.church. Until next time, this is Whole Life.